Hey everybody, and welcome to the next news update for Darkest Dungeon 2. The new update is here. This is build 20.45586, and this is the Redemption Road update. Very exciting. This is going to be covering changes to the driving system as well as the pet system in-game. So definitely excited to check all of this out. I will say this is a huge patch. This is going to be a long video, so grab something to drink, buckle up, and subscribe to the channel because you want to stay up to date on all things Darkest Dungeon 2, and that's where we're going to do it. So this is the new blog post here. It is posted on the official website. I'm going to skip over the synopsis here. There are a lot of things to cover, as you can see, but this is the overview. So if you want to pause and just kind of get the quick down and dirty of things that have been updated, here it is. But we're going to get right into the details. First and foremost, let's talk about the changes to routes. Stagecoach tokens. The Stagecoach now has two basically new tokens that are attached to it that show up in the top left. I'll be showing some video here to showcase what that looks like. Has two types, wheels and armor. Basically, you start off with very few of these. You can upgrade these in the altar to get more. You can also get Stagecoach items now that will give you additional ones of these. But essentially, these, when they are full, they will give you benefits. So when you have full wheels, I believe you get more health regeneration, and when you have full armor, you get block tokens at the beginning of your turn. So pretty interesting stuff there. If they are below the full, you won't get those benefits, but there are now also route types that interact with these. So on the map, which I'm showing over here, you'll see that your journey has gotten a little trickier. Roads are now generated with one of several route types, replacing the binary fight-no-fight system, which is a nice change because it was boring before. Icons are shown midway along the road segment on the minimap. There are 5 of them. There is a safe road, which has nothing on it. This is the rarest. There is a rough patch. This is the one that interacts with wheels. So every time you go over this patch, you will lose a wheel token. There is a hazard, which is essentially a trap. Every time you go through a hazard, you will lose a armor token. There is a combat one. This functions basically the exact same as road fights did before this update. It can be the gaunts, it can be the pillagers, it can be a region-specific fight, whatever the case is. This has no interaction with your tokens, but they have removed the 5-turn limit on all of these fights now, so that's interesting. And then there is the Oblivion Terror, which is an ink fire wall that increases loathing by 1 when the coach passes through it. Then the loathing system has been completely overhauled, so that's something that we will talk about in a minute. Now, if you run out of any one of these tokens, you will go into what's called an urgent repair fight. You'll be forced into a fight where pillagers will attack you, and you get some different modifiers depending on if you lost all your wheel tokens or all of your armor tokens. But essentially what happens on either of these is that you get a modifier called Urgent Repairs, which will force one of your heroes every turn to basically skip their turn to repair the cart. You have to defeat all the enemies. It's not like a repair the cart X times, it's just defeat all the enemies that are there. These fights are going to be generally tougher than regular pillager fights. They're like hard mashes, so you'll see more difficult combinations. I believe also Antiquarian is more common on these fights than she regularly is. Now, if you run out of all the wheels, you're going to have a modifier that increases the stress on a hero every turn, and if you run out of all the armor, you're going to have a modifier that adds a vulnerable token to whomever has to do the urgent repair. So these fights can get pretty dangerous pretty quick. Now, you might be asking, how do I repair these things? Well, the Wainwright now has a new menu that you can see here that will basically allow you to repair your armor or your wheel tokens for the cost of baubles. I do also believe that assistance encounters now have the chance to give you wheels and armor tokens to replenish you during the run. Stagecoach controls. The Stagecoach has been revamped pretty heavily here. One of the biggest things, one of the nicest quality of life things is that the Stagecoach will now no longer go off on its own. So when you get to an intersection, it will stop you and then it will come up on screen and you can pick which direction you want to go. You can also do that a little bit before you get to the intersection. You can pick which way you want to go and it'll just automatically go in that direction. That's nice. They've also shortened the length between the nodes a little bit more, so hopefully the play length has decreased. Next exciting thing we've got here is pets. They are here. Unlock them at the altar so that the companionship bar has been unlocked. There are 10 pets total. There are 6 that have interactions with the Stagecoach and the way that the new Stagecoach items work. So first 6 pets unlocked have effects that synergize with specific categories of Stagecoach items. The goal is to create Stagecoach builds that are focused around a pet. To achieve this, various Stagecoach items now have a gear type tag. I believe there is road gear, tinker's gear, healing or health gear, food gear, and luxury gear. I think there's another one as well, but let's go ahead. I will show off some of the pets here. So if we go back just a little bit here and find the beginning here. So the first one we have is the Hatchling Crocodilian. This one affects what happens when you move. This is basically made for moving teams. It increases your damage for that battle the more you move, but it lowers your speed. The next one we have is the Larval Carrion Eater. This one actually gives you health and a block token when that hero kills a corpse. That's pretty interesting. We have the Pygmy Pliskin. This one increases the healing received from skills for each medical gear stagecoach item that is equipped, and then a random hero gets a heal after every location. Next one we have is the Mucilaginous Slime. I believe I'm saying that right. This lowers the debuff resistant, or sorry, increases debuff resistance for your heroes per road gear item that is equipped, and it also increases the chance of looting items from road debris, so that's interesting. Next one is a 2% crit chance. This is the Shrieker Chick, sorry. 2% crit chance per scouting gear item equipped, and then +2 quantity of looted baubles, so you get more baubles there. Orphan Wolf Cub, this is the first one you unlock. This one increases your stress resist per luxury item, as well as gives you a positive relationship chance modifier. We have the Reanimated Rabbit, which gives you food gear, items increase your speed, and stacking food increases your health. And then I think the Shambler is actually the next one. There it is. And this is the Shambler spawn. This is the big one. This one allows you, this counts as a stained item, which means that it counts as the same as a Dark Impulse, which allows you to use cultist items without using a Dark Impulse. So you can have 2 cultist trinkets on the same person. You can have a cultist trinket and any other trinket on the same person. You can use a cultist trinket without having to have any other trinkets applied. So this one opens up some really, really interesting synergies. So some pretty cool stuff there. And that's the pets, basically. And essentially how these work is you unlock them. When you go to the first inn, you have a choice of 3 pets that are given to you. They are randomly selected. They cost 1 relic to buy. You apply it to your stagecoach. It is permanently attached to your stagecoach. You can't remove it. You can't take it off. And you will not get the option to find pets later on. So you have to take them at the beginning of the run. And the idea is to kind of build a run around the pet and how they synergize with your stagecoach. The valley has also been updated. It is now much shorter. The Hoarder and the Assistance Encounter have been removed from the valley, as well as the fight in the valley now has more alterations. You can get different combinations of enemies at the valley fight, not just the 2 ghouls or the 2 ghouls and a widow. I've seen 4 not ghouls, lost souls. I keep calling them ghouls. I've also seen ones that have 4 lost souls. I've seen other ones as well, so pretty interesting there. It makes it much shorter, which is really nice to the length of the run. Now, Loathing has been revamped completely. It is now on the other side of the screen, and it now goes up to 4. As Loathing is no longer increased at in arrival, it increases by going through the tears that you find on the roads or by going through nodes that are void touched, which are shown on the map. When the Loathing builds to maximum, you get a confession-based attack from the boss, essentially. They call it a confession boss stirs and inflicts a confession-specific attack upon the party. I don't know what these attacks look like. I don't know what the difference between denial, resentment, and obsession is, but it'll be pretty interesting to see what those are. Depending on... they all have different effects, but basically every time you max out Loathing, it'll actually increase the health of the final boss every time you max out Loathing. So be careful stacking Loathing, because you might just end up with like a 450 health focused fault or something crazy. Torch has been updated. They have removed the dot resistance and the crit modifiers, and it is now more akin to if you have high torch, it applies blind to enemies. If you have low torch, it applies blind to you. They've said that they're still working through some torch stuff. And also, Infernal Torch has been removed, I believe, from this build. It is only regular Torchlight. They are messing with Infernal right now. So, Confession and region shaping. So one of the things that they're looking to do is basically help new players get into the game and increase the scaling of difficulty as we go through the acts. We still have 2 acts that are left to be announced or released, so there's still a lot more to come here. But the big takeaway from this one is that Denial has been shortened to 2 regions only, and the only regions that you'll be able to play on Denial is Sprawl and the Tangle. This is to make these are the easier regions to make new players feel a little less daunted. They don't want them going into the Shroud early on. And Loathing also occurs slower in Denial than it does. Resentment and Obsession have been kept the same length, and just to keep in mind that you will be able to get the full length Denial eventually, just not in this current build and not until 1.0 releases. They are testing this out, and they also said they're testing some options to see how long a run can be depending on any confession. So maybe if you want a shorter run, they might have options in the future to help with that. That's pretty good. Next one is that loot and economy balance has been changed. Essentially, combat items and stagecoach items have all been removed from battle rewards. Battle rewards now give you currency. They don't give you items, and the idea is essentially that they want you to go to the shopping areas and buy things with the currency, and that's how you're supposed to get them. So you're much less likely to get like these items from just winning fights. Now you have to actually take the time to go to the hoarder, make sure that you stock up at the inn. They've also reduced the shop selection at the field hospitals. It's not supposed to be a shopping location. It's supposed to be a place that you heal up. Academic studies have gotten better rewards and slightly more. Oblivion's Ingress, they've increased the chance of getting cultist trinkets as well as Dark Impulse. So a big change to the economy there. They've messed with some of the drop rates for like baubles and loot, and they've also changed the prices of a couple things here as well. The other big change here has been to the memory system. So now the altar has been moved prior to the crossroads and to your act selection. It is no longer in the valley, which is something a lot of people wanted. So memories, the way they work now is they are essentially attached to defeating a confession boss. So there are only 3 memory slots now. You no longer unlock memory slots at the altar. You get them, basically unlock them by having that hero defeat the required confession boss. So if you want the memory in slot 1, you have to take that hero through and defeat Denial, and then you can put a memory on them when you get to the altar at the end of the next run, or the end of that run, because it's right after there. If you want one in slot 2, you have to defeat Resentment. If you want one in slot 3, you have to defeat Obsession. So you can no longer go through Denial 5 times and get 5 memories. You have to go through each of the confessions, which does mean that there are now only 3 memory slots available, and the other 2 will come with release. We'll have to see how that all feels, but you still select the memories at the altar. You just don't unlock the number of slots there. Assist encounters have gotten a huge revamp. Apparently, they're made to be a lot more interesting, a lot more dynamic, have better reward choices, a lot clearer about what the reward choices are. They can also, I believe, give repair tokens as well, which gives them some more functionality, especially in Infernal, though obviously Infernal is no longer a thing, at least in this build. So there's some big changes there. You can pause and read through all of that, so pretty interesting there. And then the other one has been to stagecoach items. Stagecoach items have gotten a big change, like to the explosive magazine, for example. It used to just increase the stacking of explosive items. Now it also produces those explosive items as well. So there's some changes there. Basically, this is to help synergize with pets. And then there are a whole slew of gameplay changes. I don't want to cover all of these. A lot of them have to do with just, making things work in the new systems. But some big ones are there are some new region modifiers that are based on the new scouting stuff. There are some new quirks that help with the new scouting stuff. They've made it easier to get candles for new players. They've increase the stacking of relics and baubles, so they're less intrusive in your inventory. There are some big ones here. This is the big one here. Dots dealt by trinkets and combat items can now be affected by effects that modify dot duration, chance, and amount dealt. This basically just means that the trinkets interact with each other and combat items interact with each other properly now. They didn't really used to. They used to only affect the hero's abilities and not one another. Now they do. I can't go through all of these changes because there's a lot of them, but definitely pay attention to your dot items now. They have all been modified and updated, and they have different effects of one another. And it's made dot builds a lot wackier, so very fun there. They're increasing or trying to work, this is a work in progress, the monster party difficulty shaping to be more difficult as you go through the run. They're really trying to work on this scaling difficulty. It's still a work in progress, but that is something that they are actively trying to change. Let's see. Monsters can no longer roll multiple consecutive turns in standard initiative order. This is very helpful for enemies, particularly the Exemplar. Immobilized tokens now stack to a maximum of 3. That's a pretty interesting one. And weak tokens can no longer be resisted when you hit death's door. Some changes to heroes. It looks like they're trying to move all of the heroes' paths to the system that the Vestal uses currently, the one that actually just modifies the abilities instead of just having a general tooltip. The only hero that they've done this with so far is the Grave Robber. All the others are still on the old system. So definitely take a look at the Grave Robber, check out her paths, see how they've been changed. I think they're looking for some feedback on this. They fixed some issues with the Vestal. Elemental, Shrine of Reflection, some updates to creatures. The Knight is now way more deadly on Death's Door, so definitely keep that in mind. And then some general item changes. I'm not going to go through all of this, but one of the big ones is that combat items are now rewarded in full stacks, which is really good. So you never just get a single one. You'll always get the full stack of that item, unless it is a single stack. So there's possession limit on trinket and stagecoach items, which will reduce duplicate appearance of these item types. That's very good as well. Stagecoach equipment is now called stagecoach items. Cool. Oh yeah, the Stillwater Shroudler boss is now the Lashing Tides. They got rid of the really crappy trophy, and it now does something different. I would go take a look at what that one does. It's pretty interesting. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but hey, it's actually valuable now, so that's cool. And there's a couple other things here. We've got the new item types. There's Valley has its own baubles now. Iron Branded Wheels is the stagecoach item that increases your wheels. Steel Plating is the one that deals with your armor. Carriage Lamp lowers the chance of you being able to generate loathing when you touch a loathing area. And the Wagon Jack basically nullifies the urgent repair fight. It basically allows you to have an action when you have the repair token. Bunch of stuff changed to the starting pool of items. These have now all been added to the default unlocked item pool, and this one has been removed, Noisemaker. New item tag explosive, and then there's a bunch of these new tags here and all the items that have been applied to these tags. So we now have food gear, luxury gear, medical gear, road gear, scouting gear, and tinker's gear, and these are all the stagecoach items that fall under those gear items. Combat items have gotten a lot of changes. I'm not going to go through all of these. In items have had some changes. Stagecoach items obviously have had some changes. Trinkets. This has to do with the new dot system. So all of these are the dot items and how they have been changed. So definitely take a look at these. And then we have the fixes there. So yes, this is a big old update. A lot of really interesting things here. Definitely excited to see how this plays out, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. If there is a update that you really like or an update that you really dislike, go ahead, leave it in the comments. Let's have a discussion about it, and definitely come over, check out the Discord if you want to come discuss those things with me more one-on-one. I'm always happy to do so. So thank you all for watching the video. I really appreciate it. This will be the last update before 1.0, which is on May 8th. So this is the last big one, y'all. Until then, we're getting no more public updates. So pretty exciting stuff. Definitely excited to check this one out. I think it's adding a lot of things that people have been looking for. And yeah, happy to see everybody's thoughts on it. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Helps out loads. And I will catch you all in the next video. Thank you.